Welcome to Primary Complete, episode 009. In this episode, we sit down with two lady firefighters employed with New Hanover County Fire Rescue, Blair George and Laura Leigh. In our conversation, we explore a wide range of topics, including how they both entered the fire service, what it's like being a female in a male-dominant profession, and to me, the most interesting part, the psychology of males and females working together in a dynamic, trust-dependent environment. I also want to take a second to say thank you to all of you, the listeners, for your support of the show. Your feedback has been amazing and incredibly reassuring. Keep encouraging your friends, family, and coworkers to listen to the show. Also, like and subscribe on all your listening and viewing platforms. With your participation, our conversations will reach those who need them. Again, thank you, and enjoy episode 009, Blair and Laura. Absolutely. What made, and we'll start with you, Blair, what made either of you want to get into my beloved fire service?
Your fire service?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. You can call it yours as well, but I'm definitely going to call it mine.
I like to say I have a legacy that
I would agree with that.
Followed into.
Sure.
Both of my granddaddies were in the fire service. My dad and my uncle are currently in the fire service. So I was like, I'll just dabble in this a little bit. And then it got me. It was like, you're not leaving.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Found out what it was all about. Yeah.
I was head first.
That's awesome.
After that. Yeah,
that's great. Wonderful. Laura?
I am probably the complete opposite of Blair. And I'm a late in life bloomer, for sure. So 2016 is when I started to think about it was a life change altogether, but that's when I said, I'm going for it. I'm going into the fire service, do whatever I can. I felt like I had a calling and needed a purpose. And I thought about the fire service probably 6-8 years before that, but things were not good for me then, so the timing was everything. So I got into the service either 37 or 38. So late in life bloomer, a lot of big changes. I admire Blair, and I think it's really cool, her history and her legacy and stuff like that. So I'm the opposite, totally did not know what I was getting into, but felt like this was for me. So.
Why the fire service? Well, I mean, how did you even hear about it, know about it? Because, I mean, we're like a very well-kept secret, unless it's a family thing or you have friends who do it or something like that. It's not something that's, really I mean, it's not really something that's pushed in career day in high school.
Sure. I think when I was getting out of high school years ago, I thought about actually joining the military. I always wanted to help people, always interested in maybe being a nurse, or I always like the idea of something always changing, always be different, like something different all the time. I didn't want to sit behind a desk.
What did your parents do?
My father he had his own business. He was a general contractor and self-made. And my mother she was a homemaker. She trained dogs too. That's her passion.
That's
She rode horses too. So.
All right. So we got your upbringing. What made you discover the fire service? Different, obviously, for both of you, which is super cool. First time on the truck out of the academy. Blair, did you have the academy experience?
So from 2014 until January of 2016, I got some classes from the volunteer world. You go to another department and they hold Tuesday, Thursday night, and then you test or whatever. But then I started Cape Fear's Academy and finished in April of 2016 and got the rest of the classes that I needed. And then I got my EMT a couple months later through Pender because they did their direct delivery.
Gotcha. When you were hired on with New Hanover, there wasn't any academy time with them, kind of the onboarding process, I guess
It was
you could
like
say.
2 weeks.
Okay, so not much on that end. Cool. All right. Out of onboarding, out of the academy, first couple days, months, whatever on the truck. The process for you was probably different. You kind of dabbled into life a little bit, Blair, with the the kind of heritage and kind of understanding how that works already through all the other family members. But Laura, wake up call, right?
Yeah.
Out of the academy, onto the truck.
It was interesting because I went through actually 2 academies, almost back to back. Went through the community college one, and shortly after I graduated, I was hired on part-time at one of the beaches fire department. And so riding on that, it's a different vibe out on the beach. So my first real experience probably was after I graduated from WFD and got on a truck engine with them, and it was my first assignment. And I mean, right out of the gate, it was a wake-up call because I was in a location where you just never knew what you were going to get over there on the south side of New Hanover County. And so it was a wake-up call. I had a great crew. I think I caught my first fire because I came in kind of like on a half a tour. So the next tour, I caught my first fire and also had interesting EMS calls.
I'm glad you got a fire right out of the gate.
Yeah.
That's good.
It was. And it was a big fire.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Yeah, I learned a lot from that one. So.
Yeah. What was the building? Like, you don't have to give us an address or anything. I could blur that out, and even if you did.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was a duplex in a low-income area, and I mean, it was probably at least 75% involved. And I mean, I just remember turning the corner, and down the street, you could just see the fire just blowing out everywhere, up the trees. And I was like, oh my gosh. I had to do some self-talk. Yeah. And luckily, we were riding 4 that day, and my senior firefighter was a great help. And so it was just one of those moments where, I just had to fall back on what I learned in the academy and on my training, and and seek the guidance of my senior firefighter, my captain, and it worked itself out, and the nerves kind of calmed down, and so. Did
you get that good, like your heart's beating?
Oh yeah.
Really hard, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Look at the smile on her face.
It was great. It was great.
I looked around the room while you were telling that story, and everybody's like,
yeah, geeking. I love those.
Yeah,
I sent you a picture of my first fire. It's dark, and I'm standing out front with my crew. So
nice. The modern marvel of technology. It's right now on the screen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Blair, what was it like for you stepping out of the volunteer world into the paid staff side?
It was a whole nother beast. volunteer. The pager goes off. You get to leave the comfort of your house and decide if you want to run a call or not. Like, you either go or you don't. Career, you're there 24 hours. Like,
You don't get the option.
no, you got to go.
Okay. Was that a hard swing for you, or a hard thing?
Not really. I mean, I ran all the volunteer calls. The hardest part was being away for 24 hours at a time.
What is it like being a woman in a male-dominated industry? So what is that like? I mean, you're thrown as a woman, Laura, with you a little later in life, thrown into a male-dominated, atmosphere and industry. And Blair, you kind of grew up in it, so I understand it may be a little different from you, but you went from choosing to now you got no choice.
Yeah.
The county picks who you work with.
Yeah.
You don't get those options.
I can start. I think that lots of conversations that Blair and I have had, I think overall our mindset is very similar on that subject. Blair and I discussed this, like, I don't necessarily want to be one of the guys. I want to be kind of treated like one of the guys, especially when I was a rookie and stuff. I was like, view me as a rookie. Like, we're still females. I think that I know I like to embrace that aspect. So I'm not looking to like be one of the guys, if you know what I mean by that. But I think, having an older brother, kind of my mom always said I was like a bit of a free spirit. And so I was always outside, always like, I had horses and playing outside and doing sports and stuff like that. And I think naturally, and also being around a lot of military guys, a lot of veterans and things like that. So I saw a lot, heard a lot. So nothing really kind of fazed me as far as like being around the guys. I always felt like I never really fit in with the girly girls, although I like girly girl stuff.
Sure.
But I never felt like I really fit in with those kind of girls. So I kind of went a different path in life. And, but overall, I mean, going into the fire service, again, I kind of just went in like completely blind. Like I had to figure it out. But I think just being a little bit older and kind of, having some life experience helped with as far as maturity, walking into like chain of command and respect and things like that. So I felt like I had somewhat of an idea of that. And again, it was sort of self-taught, like around the firehouse. I think Steve was one of the first people I probably met, besides a few others, that when I was an intern at New Hanover County in my first academy. And I think I thought I was so nervous, but I was like, I can't let them show. I can't let them see that I'm nervous. Don't show them any fear. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to ask questions, be respectful, and just like kind of take it all in and then make, I guess, a judgment from there. But also on top of that, I was in the sort of the workout world, the CrossFit world, so around a lot of guys and females that kind of had the same mindset. So that helped too, like all that discipline and competing and stuff like that. So I felt like I applied a lot of what I learned in competing in fitness and those aspects to the fire service, if that makes any sense.
Sure does.
Yeah.
I could be way off base. You didn't want to have these walls set up to where the experience was somehow limited, or you were going to impact the crew in a way that shouldn't be. Like, you didn't want that to be part of it.
I wanted to be accepted. I didn't want to be viewed as a female coming in. I just wanted to be seen as like the intern or the rookie or the recruit or the firefighter. Like, look at me that way. Like, and I totally understand, male, female, you have to like earn respect. You have to, prove yourself. So
that prove yourself mentality is, I think that's what gains you the respect that you have earned, is coming in wanting to, like, you're not demanding it, or like you're saying, it wasn't an attitude of I'm here, behave correctly.
Yeah. I didn't want anybody to have to like walk on eggshells or anything for me, or because I was a female. I understand that there's things that like there are differences between us, but I think it's a good thing. I think that I didn't even realize, like, I probably didn't even realize what I was missing out until I went to Station 8 at WFD, and we got a female rookie there, and meeting Blair. Like, all of that, like, I didn't realize there's this whole other, like, it's a sisterhood, and it's, like, a whole different feeling that I have with Blair and, like, Cameron versus what I have with the guys, and it's pretty awesome. And, like, I try to embrace my femininity with the fire service, and kind of, I'm not trying to be, like, a bro, although I feel like I fit in,
Sure,
I feel like,
yeah.
but
It's the girl version of the brotherhood.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Because I look at the guys and I really do admire, like, what you guys have together. And I didn't realize I didn't have that until I had Blair and Karen and a few other females in the fire service, and started to connect with them and realized, oh my God, we have that, what they have. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
But for me, I got a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I was a female and I was a George. Like,
Correct.
Yeah.
people are like, oh, well, she got this job because she's a George. Or,
Did I say that to you?
I don't think so.
Sounds
If
like
you
something
did,
I
it
would
wouldn't have
say.
mattered anyway.
I know that. That's why I would have said it.
But, so, yeah, like, not only, oh, she got the job because she's a girl, she got the job because she's a George. Her uncle helped her. Her uncle got her promoted. No. When you're good, you're just good.
Heard
Yeah.
that.
Like,
Heard that.
sorry to upset you, but
You earned your spot.
Yeah.
let me enjoy this.
Love it.
Yeah.
Blair and I were talking the other day, and I've heard this, and I just want to say that it's a very, very small percentage of men in the fire service that I feel a pushback because I'm a female. But sometimes the verbiage can be hurtful, and so again, a very small percentage. And I've actually heard it out of female firefighters' mouth before too, where it's the same thing that Blair was just saying. She has both being a legacy and then a female, and then I've heard, out of other people's mouths, like, kind of, well, you only got that job because you're a female, or you only got that spot on the truck because you're a female, or, and I think Blair's had that experience with both her being a legacy and being a female, and it totally takes away our hard work and all the discipline that we've done to earn that spot, and it takes away, it kind of, it's dismissive.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that is the hurtful part, is when you're, like, dismissive.
Especially coming from another girl.
Yeah, that was hurtful.
Well, we feel it the same as men as well. I mean, I know it's a kind of a blown out phase, or a blown out saying, but I mean, haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
I mean, they hate us because they ain't us.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all heard that saying before, but it rings so true, and it's a shame that you have to hear that. It's been said on this show several times, but people are all for you. They want you to do your absolute best, so long as it's not better than them.
Yeah.
And it rings so true. And shame on those people.
Yeah.
You're not the problem. It's them that's the problem. So
Yeah.
but I mean,
In my academy, Josh Balzio was in my class, and his dad was a captain lieutenant at the time with the fire department, and he caught a lot of that, like, you got the job because of your dad, and some of those, there were some haters, some people thinking that he shouldn't be here and that sort of thing, and I said it in our first show, like, it might have been later on, but he's in my top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's like a super stud.
Yeah,
And
he is.
he's, if you know him, he's cocky as all get out. But
That's
he's
what you
good.
love about him too.
Yeah,
At the
right.
same time, yeah.
I was definitely one of those people giving him crap about riding his daddy's coattails, and that's why I said that. I say that to you, but I say that extremely jokingly.
Yeah.
I have a hard time talking negative about anybody seriously.
Yeah.
I have a very hard time with that. I joke with people all the time, but I'm far from serious.
Yeah. The only reason I bring him up is I wonder if that's similar. Like if he was sitting here next to you, if it would be a similar feeling.
Sure. Yeah.
Somebody dismissing his accolades because
Yeah.
he's the son of a fireman or whatever. Yeah.
I felt, I mean, I never wanted, like, even in both academies and even like on shift, I bust my ass. I never wanted to give them any like ammo or whatever, the haters, like any chance to like say, whoa, you know.
Yeah, don't give them any ammunition.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I've had haters.
Yeah.
I think we all have. Most people who
Sure.
are successful do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's okay.
So, Truck 8, how long were you on Truck 8?
About a year and a half.
Nice.
Close
Did you get some work?
Yes. Loved being on the truck. Loved Truck 8. Love those guys out there. And before that, I was when I graduated from WFD, I was put on Engine 6. That was my first assignment on the South Side, and everyone was like, "Oh, Station 6," and it was a hidden gem. It really was.
A good spot.
It was. It was a hidden gem, and I got some experience out there that I haven't gotten anywhere else. And then I think I was out there for a little over a year, and then I got transferred to Truck 8, and I was super excited about getting on the truck. Anything to be closer to doing, rescue, all the cool stuff. That's why I was like,
Hero work.
I was like,
Hero work.
all that cool stuff, and I really enjoyed it. And then after Truck 8, I decided while I was at WFD, I still had a connection with New Hanover County Fire. You guys were the ones that gave me my start, and and then I got hired part-time, and then quickly got hired full-time to New Hanover County, and moved to an engine, and then back on a truck again, on Truck 17, and am thrilled to be back on a truck, and it's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just so happy. Every day I wake up, I cannot wait to go. So
That time at 6, I was at 18 during that era.
Yeah.
And man, it was like a all-out race to beat 6 into the middle zone between us.
yes.
Yeah, I was happy when they closed 6 and moved it up to 5. Yeah, it's like, let's get a little breathing room around here. Trying to race people to your first due.
Oh yeah. That was, there was bad car wrecks. We ran with Old 5 a lot, so they had a lot of, in some of the areas in the Old 5 district, Engine 6 would get there first. That's how I got the first fire. And
Nice.
just some wild stuff over there. There were days where we would have, one or two like calls or nothing, but when something pops off on the South Side, it's going to be bad. So
Right.
Blair, what was your first assignment with county? You rode backstep with who?
Engine 16 B
Okay.
shift.
All right. What was that like?
So
16's always been kind of a rocking house.
Yeah.
I felt like I never ran any good runs.
You just caught all the bad stuff or all the boring stuff, or
There were some tours where we didn't run a single call.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Truck 17
Yeah,
Life.
I feel you. I feel you.
Who was the officer?
Cam Best.
Nice.
And Casey was my driver. But I spent, I think, 2 shifts in Old 16.
Okay.
Then we went to Trailer
house.
Hood.
That's right. The
Yeah.
trailer
Oh,
house.
that was terrible.
Yeah, it was not very fun.
That's
Yeah.
that's how you really learn the people you're around, is when you're confined to a super tiny box.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's literally nowhere to hide.
No.
In
you
that place.
Go outside and sit on the picnic table. That's where I spent all of my time pretty much.
Wow.
I think many a times you were texting me because we're both on, even though I was at the city, we were
Yeah.
both on B shift.
Yeah.
And
I was like,
we
get
texted
me
him
out of
about it.
here. I need somewhere to hide.
For anybody that doesn't know, 16 firehouse was torn down and rebuilt. So a temporary period of time. It was I guess a double wide.
No, it was a single wide.
Single
It
wide,
was a
yeah.
single wide and a single bay, like pop-up metal garage.
Shed.
Yeah, it was a shed.
man.
It was narrow.
It was a drag.
and not very long.
It was a drag. Call volume didn't slow down, and the living quarters got worse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a nice, beautiful, big firehouse now.
it's awesome now,
That's
Yeah.
great now. Yeah.
for sure.
Then I got transferred to 14B shift with Cap Moore and Cuthbert. That was where I think I caught 3 figure 8 fires in
Yeah.
my year and a half there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those, some of the best
Look at
fires you'll
that
fight.
smile.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what now. There's something happens inside of me when people talk about fire and they get this biggest smile on their face. It's just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those fires, we were at the very edge of our district on Sidbury Road, and a structure fire popped off on figure 8. So we were last due to our first in.
I'm proud of that.
At the time, it sucked, but looking back, you're like, that's never going to happen,
Yeah.
you know? You're going to
That-
be on one far side of your district.
Yeah. I think that's the one that Rescue 11 beat Truck 8 in. And boy, Scotty Herring was so excited about that. Yeah. Coming from Wrightsboro, that's a good
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
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 That's a long way to go.
That's a long drive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Speaking of fire and loving it, you came to one of our live burns. Hoffman, I think you were there.
Absolutely, I was
The,
there.
Yeah, the Winnebago.
That was really special. Like, I think that was probably really when I was like, I was a rookie at WFD then. And so when I kind of got in with that group and you guys, I was like, man, these county guys are awesome. Like,
Your
I-
was that your captain you were with? that
no,
day?
no.
Who that was?
Captain Comer, who's
Comer, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
he's
he's-
amazing.
yeah, he's the best,
Yeah,
for sure.
He is. He's amazing. And I
I forgot how he got that invite.
Not sure, but yeah, I
Was
mean,
Coop there for that?
He was.
Okay, that's
yeah,
how.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Our burn crew's pretty
yeah,
tight. It's-
yeah. And I got assigned with you to assist you, I guess. And I think it was it Ethan?
Ethan and Hibbins.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember.
Dave.
I knew the DC guy.
That's
Yeah,
right,
he
Dave
was
Hibbins.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just was just so hungry for knowledge, and it was cool because the live burn, like I wasn't just like going in real quick with the hose line coming back out. I was actually going in with you guys and just sitting in the fire and watching stuff, and really kind of just slowed down everything. And instead of you have a structure fire and your adrenaline's up, I was able to kind of like calm down in my mind, and then you were right there talking to me about stuff, showing me things, and I learned a lot from everybody that day. So
Those are
it was
good
really
experiences.
special. Yeah, it was.
I remember at one point it had got into the attic and was breaking through the roof a little bit, and we had some certain individuals. I think we talked about that in the Hibben episode a little bit, or I don't know if we talked about it on air, but I know we talked about it off air
Right.
for sure. But we had a few individuals there who were, fires through the roof,
Yeah.
abandon the building, everybody,
Yeah.
get out, that kind of thing. There was one point that Ken had looked at Ethan and was like, "Get you two,
Hibbins.
go
that
get
was
it."
Dave.
Hibbins, yeah. Hibbins looked at him
Yeah.
and was like, "Get you two and go put the fire out so they'll be quiet." And he grabbed you and
Yeah.
whoever else was with you.
I think it was Steve and
might have
him.
been.
I think it was just the three of us.
It might have
Yeah.
been, but it was like,
Yeah.
"Go put the fire out, please."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ethan had nothing but great things to say when he came back out and was talking about you. He was like, "Laura was right there, tucked her chin. Let's get it, let's do this."
Yeah. That's such good fun.
It was a great experience. Oh, it's nice to hear. I mean, I remember just being even just to see the smoke banking down and just stuff that you just would watch on YouTube videos. I actually got to see it in that environment and just kind of really just take it all in, all that knowledge and stuff. So
Watching a fire develop does help to slow everything down. Like when you pull up, we had a first due. Lieutenant George over here was riding the seat recently,
that.
and to your point, we pulled up on a structure fire and it was burning, and it's just a home that's on fire, and having that chance to just see a fire develop, the way your brain processes it, it helps if you've been able to just sit and watch one grow, and you fed it, and you grew this little thing and watch it burn stuff. It makes me feel kind of weird saying it that way, but
I like how
Yeah.
you talk about it like it's a child you're
Yeah,
nurturing.
yeah.
got to feed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah.
feed it,
Yeah,
take
watch it
care of
grow.
it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Make sure it's got plenty of oxygen,
Yeah.
this kind of thing. What do you think, speaking about live burns, from the both of you, what do you think is the positives that we can gain as new firefighters, firewomen? I don't even know how to, what to call it.
Firefighters.
Firefighters.
Firefighters, right.
Yeah, firefighters are coming up. What do you think the gain is from actual doing live fire training? I mean, we know obviously because we've done it for who knows how long. But as somebody new coming in, is that knowledge that you can get from hearing people talk about it, or is that something you have to experience it? Blair, I'm sure you have lots of experiences with it, which I am dying to hear about. And Laura, until you went to the live burn with us, what was your experience with it before that?
It was kind of just, I had a few fires at 6, and a lot of times for me, it was just a big kind of a rush. Everything was like hurry, 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 and you don't have time to like really take it all in. And so I think that the nice part of actually doing the live burn, but being kind of tagging along with the instructors was just even a better experience. And just absorbing that knowledge, just time slowed down, and just taking in the knowledge and the guidance and the experience of instructors like you guys, really kind of helped me understand what it was like actually going to a structure fire, or for whatever degree it was. So now having that experience and then going to a structure fire on duty, it really changed my mindset. A lot of things. I still, to this day, from that day out there, I use a lot of the tips that you guys told me out there, you and Ethan and everybody. Like, I still apply that to this day, and that was like a couple of years ago, I think. So
Nice.
yeah.
What about you, Blair? Did y'all do many fires, live burns and whatnot at Burgaw? Is that kind of a...
We did a couple.
Sure. Well, how did your when you started doing, or when you got into doing live burns and actually started making entry into things, how did that change? Did that kind of change your perspective and your outlook on stuff? Like, this is way more fun.
Oh yeah.
Than standing in the yard spraying. Or this is way more purposeful. I
Right.
mean, seeing somebody's property burn into ashes versus being able to actively get in there
And stop
and
it.
maybe it's one picture. Maybe it's one picture that you get in there and save.
Yeah.
Or whatever, one piece of property that cannot be replaced through insurance or whatever it may be, but you save that for that person. It may not seem like anything to us. It just seemed like a fun fire, We got in there, got to get some, felt a little heat, cool, put some water on it, do some overhaul, cool. But to that person whose life you affected by just being aggressive or having the knowledge to even go in and, be there first, that's a huge thing for them. So the aspect of being, first doer being aggressive to a fire versus actually being there when it's kind of over with, was that kind of more fulfilling for you?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like I was doing something for someone else rather than just looking back at the homeowner like,
Sorry.
that's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm doing all
Doing
I
the best I can.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
To your point, the fighting the fire for that picture or for whatever. Recently, we had a structure, and it was a single lady that lived there. Her husband had passed on, and her house had burned. It was just in the dining room, living room area, and she got home to us in the yard, and we stopped it. It just burned that little area, and she was upset about the house, like it was smoked out and things were broken, and her demeanor took a sharp turn when it was time for us to leave. And I said, hey, it's not safe for you to go in there. Is there anything in there that you like, man, I really want this, can you please go get this? Like, medicine or whatever.
Stack of $100 bills or whatever it is.
Stack of $100 bills.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's real.
She realized this one thing, and it was near where the fire was. And Trevor was able to go in and get this photo album or photo collage. And her son had passed away, pretty recent. And this was all the physical pictures. You know, it's not a modern world for her with digital everything. And she wanted that bad. And she described very specifically, and Trevor went over and he's looking and she's kind of peeking through like with this hope. And here he comes with it. It's all dirty, but that was her everything. Like suddenly the whole house could have been gone.
Yeah.
But
who cares if the house
she's
is
hugging
burned
this
out?
thing as we go and clean it up for her. Yeah, it's important. We can't just, follow that. Oh, the insurance company's going to pay for it. Let's burn it down anyway.
All right. So I have a question. We're going to start with this, and we're going to segue right on into some other topics that I'm sure, if I'm thinking about it, plenty of other people are as well. And the only people to answer them are y'all.
Okay.
So we'll start with calls, because I feel like, the things that would affect me on a call are different than what would affect a woman on a call. On a mother side of things, and on a woman's side of things, how do calls affect your emotions?
Go ahead, Blair. You want to start it?
I don't have kids, but I adore kids.
We'll just take the kids out of the equation. Let's just talk about women and emotions, period. Men, we tuck emotions back. It's supposed to be you're supposed to be, I don't cry. Yeah. Nobody makes me cry my own tears. It's this whole, it's this whole, male masculinity. But, then you look at women, they're supposed to be the picture of emotion. If they're crying, it's great. If they're sad, that's great. They're normal. You're women. You're supposed to do that, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You see what I mean?
Some calls are hard. I've definitely cried after getting back from some calls. But I adopt the same method that a man would. I just push it down and block it out.
Ball it up real tight and push it way down.
Yeah.
Stick that in the back pocket.
Yeah.
We'll handle it later.
But it's not healthy, because they come back at some point and you're dealing with it even worse.
We'll get into that too.
But
yeah.
Sure.
So without some sort of training, that is the default. Is just, hey, I'll deal with this later.
Yeah, no one taught me how to process seeing a dead body or doing CPR on a kid. No one prepared me for that. It was just something I got exposed to.
You didn't get any SOPs for that, right? Yeah. Or dealing with the loss of a coworker.
Right.
That's I think that seems to be a mark that we're missing. But anyway, we'll get to that as well. But yeah, I feel you there. So it's refreshing to hear that you as a woman also take the same tactics as I do. As I'm just gonna, this is not the time or the place, and I'm gonna stuff this over here to the side, and we'll deal with this later.
Is there an assumption that we've got it all figured out, like the men on the job sitting there as you? Like, are you thinking, oh, I can't show my emotion, or I can't do this?
So when I have cried in front of my coworkers, I'm like, these guys are just thinking she's another girl. She doesn't have control over her emotions. She's just.
Do you really? Is that really what you believe though, or is that just kind of your default perception?
It's just default.
Okay, so it's not really necessarily what Blair believes,
right?
So it's
just my mind.
Sure. Well, we have the same thing. It's the same thing for us. If I cry in front of these dudes, they're gonna think I'm soft. They're gonna think that I'm off kilter, like I don't have my shit together.
Yeah.
So I get it. So is that reality? Do you think we as men think that about women? If you're crying because something affects you, do you think that that's the real perception we have? It's just she's a woman, she's unstable, she processes things
just
differently.
Let her do her thing. There's some people who I feel are that way, but then there are other people who I know, I could just go and wrap my arms around and just let it go.
Sure.
But, I don't know how you feel. It's
similar. I would say kind of what you said. There is calls that bother me. Sometimes there's calls that I'm like, should I be bothered by? Like, is there something wrong with me that
I've
I
had
don't
those
feel
thoughts,
that
yeah.
emotion? And they're messed up calls, and I'm like, why don't I feel something? But I think that has a lot to do with my past, and the way that I've dealt with things. But also there is that we're naturally a little bit more emotional, and sometimes I've heard in the fire service, or even outside the fire service, there's times that sometimes when a woman cries, it's not because we're sad or we're emotional, it's because we're fucking pissed off.
Yes.
And that is kind of the outlet that we take. And it's not necessarily, it can be, maybe my perception, and I agree with you, sometimes I feel like it's the perception of they're thinking that I'm weak, I'm crying, but I'm pissed, and that's why I'm crying. And there's been times, I remember in rookie school, I told myself, I was like, I'm not crying in front of these boys. And I went in the bathroom, and it was over. I was just frustrated. Like the evolution it was just frustrating. There's so many people, and there's people yelling, and it's like you're stressed, and it's like you're exhausted, and all these other things. I think that's just naturally maybe how women respond sometimes. And so I was like, I'm just going to the bathroom, and I'm going to just like cry, but because I'm pissed, not because I'm like sad or my feelings are hurt. Hell no. I'm just frustrated.
So as a woman in the fire service, do you feel intimidated by approaching men?
I don't look at it as I'm a girl calling him out. I look at it as,
no, that's
like,
cool. That's refreshing to hear you say. I don't look at it as I'm a woman calling this man out.
Yeah.
I'm a driver calling this person out. Fireman, officer, whatever your position may be. You need to be checked from time to time. We all do. Need a little reality kick. Like, hey, you step your game up, or hey, get your shit together, or whatever. I mean, we all need it from time to time. So that's refreshing to hear you say, I don't look at it as I'm a woman. I look at it from the position that I'm in and going on from there. What about you?
Yeah. I would say similar. Like, I think it depends on the personality that you're dealing with and the ego that you're dealing with, and rank too. But I would say a year ago, I probably would have kept my mouth shut about a lot of stuff. In the past year, I really feel like I've grown into myself a little bit more in the fire service as far as like speaking up for myself. And reading the room is another. I mean, I think, again, it depends on, there might be a captain that I feel very comfortable going to and talking about and communicating with, like, what happened, what can I do better, or what can we do better, or whatever. And then there's drivers or captains and even other firefighters that I just know how they are. Got a huge ego. They're never going to listen to anything you say. It could be you, it could be me, it doesn't matter. Like, just forget it. Like, it's going to fall on deaf ears type of thing. And you kind of just have to, I mean, for me personally, I'm just like, I'm not going to worry about what they think of me. I'm not going to worry about that situation, I guess. I'm going to have to figure out how to, like, get past it, I guess, and maybe talk to somebody or seek advice from somebody else in that situation. But, yeah, I think I don't feel, as a woman, I felt maybe as, like, someone being new. I had to, like, I had to find my voice and navigate through that, so.
If you had somebody, a friend that was younger, maybe 17, 18, 19, that was driven to go into the fire service, mm-hmm. What kind of advice, boy or girl, doesn't matter, what advice would you give that person in relation to that communication part? Like either an on-scene question, mm-hmm. or you feel like you need to do something, like, what would that advice be for somebody new?
I would probably tell them, obviously, you have to respect the rank, no matter, I mean, you just do sometimes. You don't have to respect that person, but respect the rank. And I would say usually maybe start with your senior firefighter and go to them if you trust them, and see kind of maybe they can be that buffer sometimes, or your driver can be that buffer between maybe if it's the captain. And sort of just read the room and find sort of a mentor or somebody or an ally in that aspect. But don't be afraid to speak up. I mean, as long as you're respectful. I mean, it's a fine line. I think it really depends on the situation.
Hearing both of you guys talk,
Yeah.
It's just kind of, I'm working through this thought, so if I say something dumb, I'm just going to edit it out myself.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you are going to question something that's happening around you, phrase it in a question.
Yeah.
And like, nobody's ever gotten super upset about a question being asked, but if I'm questioning you with a hard statement,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to be received well.
Right.
But if I'm just asking, hey, how does this work?
Yes.
So maybe that would be the advice, is just ask a question. If you're confused, or even if you disagree,
Yes.
ask how you can understand.
Yeah.
How can I understand what's going on here?
Yeah. That's good advice. Yeah.
With the
Certainly.
with the conversation kind of turning towards new advice for new ladies wanting to come up in the fire service, there is a lot of talk in inner circles now with the whole diversity going through the fire service and all that kind of stuff. And I hear it indirectly,
Yeah.
obviously. I have deep ears.
Yeah.
So, but I hear it. There is a lot of discussion about how do we get more women
Yeah.
into our service, which I'm all for it. I have no issues at all, so long as you can meet the standard. Right? There has to be a defined standard,
Yeah.
which you both have excelled in. Your career speaks for itself. But there is talk in how do we alter this standard, if you will, in order to maybe fit the mold or make us publicly look like something that maybe wouldn't be the best. What's your outlooks on that? What the standard is, how the standard is upheld, and then what would it look like if it was altered? Is that too deep?
No.
Is that too much of a question? Blair, you go first because I'm staring at you.
I think if we alter our standard, we're shortchanging ourselves.
How?
You're not going to get good quality individuals. If you want something bad enough, you're going to go get it. That's what we did. I didn't let my small frame keep me from picking up that dummy and hauling it across that cone. Like, I trained for that. We had this conversation today.
Yeah.
That if you have a test, you study for it. You have a physical exam, like, we trained for it. We got in the gym, we worked out, we got ourselves strong. Like, to me, you're even shortchanging yourself as an individual if you settle for what is done, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's a little test anxiety that in relation to that standard. Like, before, I know personally, and maybe for you guys, before you went through the process and did the physical agility, you had never done it before. So you assume that you just got studs looking like this guy, that if he has to look like that way to do it, then it must be super hard. Having done it, and you guys having done it, it's not really that high of a bar. Like you do have to be in shape to get it done, but if you're somebody listening to this now and you've never gone through a process, if you're wanting to get a job, just go take the test. And if you fail to achieve it, which is unlikely, then you know what you need to be up against, and you can train for it and study for that test, and then go. I think that test anxiety keeps so many people from applying, just apply. Just go for it.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
What's the
You know,
worst?
I talked about
Yeah.
this in Eli's episode. You know, what's the worst that can
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah.
You came in not being a fireman.
Yeah.
So what's the worst that can happen? You leave not being a firefighter. I mean, what's
Yeah.
the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
So,
As far as, well, like what we were talking about earlier, if you're studying for for a written exam, you study months in advance sometimes. Same with, any type of physical job. Like, this job isn't for everybody. It's also mentally, emotionally, physically, there's a lot of things that go along with his job. And, I always hear, women, their upper body, they're not strong enough, whatever. But the thing is, you got to train, you got to get in the gym. You got to reach out to people that have been there before, male, female. What do I have to do to get physically in shape? And you got to work months in advance. Like Blair said, if you want this job bad enough, you'll figure it out. And to chime in on your testing anxiety, before I got on as an intern with the county, that summer before, I actually tried out for WFD. And physically, I killed it. I did not pass the written test because, number one, I didn't know anything about the fire service. Number two, I have really bad test anxiety. But I didn't let it stop me. I was like, I got to figure this out, and went down another avenue. So, I mean, I've failed a lot. In life. And even to get into the fire service. And so you just don't let one bad test, even if you tried out male, female, or specifically women, I guess, if you go out and you try out for the fire service and you didn't get on because you weren't capable physically, get in that gym, start working out, start eating better. It's not just working out, but it's taking care of your body, eating better. Seek out advice. I mean, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter if you're a male or female. There were guys in my second academy in rookie school and I was with another female in that academy, and there were guys first day couldn't run even a half mile without puking, couldn't do one pull-up, and her and I were doing strict pull-ups. We're more than running a mile without puking. We were doing all the stuff the other guys were doing. And, we were prepared. So I look at that, and by the end of it, those guys were running more than a mile without throwing up. They were doing pull-ups at the end of it. I mean, they worked hard. They had a chance. So, I mean, it's not just women, So I've seen guys out there at the trying out, and we're pulling the EMS bag out for them. So, I mean, it's just being prepared, and you gotta want it.
If you're a firefighter, you're an occupational athlete.
Yeah.
That was the best term that I heard. Erskine turned me onto that term.
Yeah. And if you want to speak statistically on what you just said, there's way more times the EMS bag comes out for men than there is for women. If we're talking statistics here. I mean, it happens more often.
I mean, I was lucky enough. I was already involved with, CrossFit and competing and working out and having that sort of discipline. So that came easy, where the other side, the written side, the studying, all that, I had to really, even in both academies and EMT and everything, I had to really sit down and work harder than a lot of other people. I felt that was my weakness. So that's just how I am, though. I mean, and we had to work through it and overcome that. So
that earlier we talked about Blair balling up everything and pushing it way down. How about you? How do you process?
That's on you.
You were like, shit, I almost skated by.
Almost made it through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty, I'm a big advocate for, mental wellness, mental health, and stuff like that. Even before I got in the fire service, my ex-husband was in the military, and I experienced a lot of, I was the spouse. So, and so I saw it from a spouse's point where PTSD and trauma and mental health was not good. It was not a good situation, and I experienced a lot of trauma from that, and from the spousal point of view, a lot of I would say emotional and sort of mental abuse in that way, and control and things like that. There were some dark times, and I learned to, in not a healthy way, I learned to compartmentalize a lot of stuff to survive in that relationship. And in a lot of ways, I'm as terrible as those years were. In a lot of ways, it prepared me in a way for the fire service. I came out stronger. I'm relearning how to deal with all that trauma in a healthier way. But I definitely compartmentalizing and shoving it way down, and
that's my favorite method.
Yeah. I still find myself doing that now, but I think I'm trying to learn to be better about it, and definitely in a better place now than I was even, I guess, like 4.5 years ago is when I was like, I became woke and was like, I'm not putting up with this anymore. And like sort of the fire service in a way saved my life, I guess.
Oh God, I'm gonna cry.
How did you make that decision? What was the I'm not gonna do this anymore?
So we were he went on a deployment, and we were already sort of separated. A lot of just bad stuff between the two of us, and it was a very like controlling relationship, and I became that person that I said I never would become, but which was he'll be nicer next time, or or I just wasn't myself. I was completely shut down and quiet and just sort of a shell of a person, where before all that, I was not like that. I feel like I'm myself again, but like a better version. And I think him going away and putting that distance between us and sort of having that beginning of like, okay, we're separating. I had to deal with his family, who was also hard to deal with sometimes. And there's some things that happened that I had to handle because he was away. And I realized, like, I'm not, like, this is all toxic. Everything here is toxic. Why am I putting my son through this? Why am I putting myself through this? Like, I'm getting older. Like, I don't need to be, like, I deserve better. I deserve more, like, all that kind of stuff. And I just, all of a sudden, just, I don't know what it was. I can't explain it. It just clicked in my brain, like, all at once. And I was like, I'm not putting up with this. It was a roller coaster after that, but I think that happened. It was part of my first academy, and then over the summer, and then so when I was going into the academy at WFD, I kind of created this huge wall, and I was secretly going through a separation/divorce. My son had a lot of problems I was dealing with on my own. I was going into academy, which was a lot of expectations put on you, which was good. It was different than being at the community college. So there was a lot of expectations, a lot of pressure to perform. So I had a lot of stuff to balance. And so everything was just, pushed down. And
so people that are working around you have no idea.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah, no idea. And a lot of times I just put a smile on my face, and just that's how I sometimes deal. So sometimes when I'm smiling, it's not necessarily I'm happy, but even before that, when we were married and stuff, I mean, I definitely fell into a huge depression and had my own mental health stuff I was dealing with, but didn't realize it really at the time. When you're in it, and you're also basically I was trying to like fix this person that didn't want to be fixed and not fixing myself, and my whole it wasn't even about me anymore. So it was just this person. Everything was about this one person all the time, not even about my son. It was crazy. So looking back on it, I can't believe I got sucked into that.
Yeah. Right now there's probably at least one person, but probably multiple that are listening that are probably in the same position. What's the next? What is that next step? What does it look like? Like, how'd you make the movement to change it?
Yeah. I think I just was like, excuse me, you are a badass bitch. What are you doing? Like, it was a lot of self-talk. Just like, I know I talk a little bit about CrossFit, but just being in the gym and working out in that CrossFit, that discipline and that environment, like, was my outlet. Like, that's how I coped, was working out and kind of putting my energy into that.
I mean, you put yourself in a overwhelmingly positive environment.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is. And then your ability to kind of take the next step and kind of weed out these negatives. You're just using the gym as an example.
Yeah.
That was your thing then.
Yeah.
I could speak from the CrossFit world. It's an overwhelmingly positive atmosphere.
Yes.
So when you're surrounded by positivity, the negative gets, you start to kind of figure out like this is not, positivity always weeds out negativity.
Yeah.
Always. So to further on Steve's question about how you kind of, the next step of how you removed yourself from this toxic environment is surrounding yourself with this positivity and kind of weeding out this negative.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of working your way through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was it. And it didn't happen overnight. Like the light bulb went off like in an instant where I like, it's now or never change. Like now, like you can't live like this anymore. But yes, yeah, it was that. It was changing my mindset, and I started to become a lot more positive. It was difficult. It was really hard to do that. I also had to had friendships that were toxic. Because I was hurting so bad, I was making bad decisions with those friends, and so I had to actually cut out a lot of people too out of my life as well. And
sometimes you got to make some cuts.
Yeah, it was really hard. I was felt very lonely, alone by myself. But I think in the end, like, I came out on the other side. Like, I remember even just throwing myself into the first academy. That was some of the start of it, of separating and kind of starting this new journey and everything too. Like that was a part of it. But I remember like just throwing myself completely into that academy and focusing my energy on that, and remembering like, oh my gosh, I just bailed out of a window. I can do this. Like I'm stronger than I think I am. Like those little achievements in the academy, like that for now it's like, oh, that's like our job. That's what we do. We do things, throwing the ladder, or even like putting out the turnout gear and going up the stairs and stuff like little things. Like I was like, I just did that. Nobody else helped me. I just did that. Like it was, I think, just building myself back up again, and I guess loving myself again.
Bailing out of the window is kind of a beautiful metaphor. Let's just try it out here.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Like, I think sort of that clicking, and then the getting into the fire service, all that kind of just I felt like myself again, and a lot of healing has happened in the past, definitely 4 years, really past 3 years of my life for sure. I like the fire service has brought me so many awesome things, friendships. I
You like Blair?
I love Blair.
The most
I
important
love Blair. You know, she's like, yeah, she's awesome, and you know, also that I feel like I found the love of my life in the fire service too. That is like he's the most opposite from my previous relationship.
Sure.
You know, it's brought me so many great friendships, experiences, like friends, by boyfriend, which, you know, he's really, I feel like my best friend, soulmate type of thing. We don't, you know, you don't need to put a ring on it. It's good. We're good. Like, I think we have a good understanding. So it's brought me a lot of great things, a lot of healing. So, you know,
that person that's riding down the road, that's like, what is the next step? Do you use, I use a mirror. So when I made the change from not being happy with what's going on to being happy, me looking at myself in the mirror, you said that you told yourself, hey, I'm a badass and I'm not doing this anymore. Was a mirror involved, or was that just you're riding down the road and you can kind of, you're self-aware and you can talk to yourself that way?
Yeah. That's funny you bring up the mirror, because I couldn't look at myself in the mirror for a really long time, for many years. Because I couldn't like, because when I looked at myself in the mirror, I just saw like emptiness, you know? And so I don't think I looked in the mirror, but I think it was just, it just clicked. It was a conversation I was having actually with my ex-father-in-law, which I'm still close with him, but because he had my back and everything, and so I was lucky to have him too. And it was just this conversation, and I realized like I cannot do this anymore. Like, it just clicked, and then eventually I was able to look at myself in the mirror.
Nice. Would you say that was the most difficult part of the whole journey? Or what was the hardest part? Like, when did you get to that everything's downhill from here?
The hardest part was really just when you're in a relationship with somebody, and like that marriage, it was a codependency, a negative codependency. And I was trying to like break free. So that transition from married, like separating / getting divorced, like, but still that codependency on each other, because we have a child together too, trying to like separate and find our own lives without like relying on each other. Because I would still like seek, you know, guidance or advice. I'd like still talk, and same with him. Like, we'd still rely on each other for things, but we had to like learn how to separate completely and just do it. Now we have a great, healthy relationship. We're friends and everything is good. I feel like he has found some kind of healing journey as well. So now is good. Then was really bad. So
nice. Would you have predicted that in the middle of the hard part?
No.
Same. I agree. Yeah. We get along okay now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't have predicted it during the middle of the separation and all that.
It's difficult. It's so hard because that's like, I don't know. It's really hard to explain until you, I guess, go through it and learn how to be your own person. But you know, before I was with him, I was like very like independent and sort of like I always like to think of myself as a gypsy a little bit, and kind of doing here or there, traveling, moving, getting involved in different things. So
I hope my questions didn't pry too much.
No, I don't mind sharing any. Like, I am in a point in my life where I can talk about it. For a long time, I didn't talk about it, and a lot of people don't know what happened to me in those like 10 years. So it was a long time. I love this. It reminds me of in my college days. So I was a DJ at the radio station at my college.
What kind of place did you DJ at?
No. I was a radio DJ.
Okay.
Yeah, for my college. We had a radio station at my college, and it was 50,000 watts.
I don't know. What that means.
So it would reach about, so you could probably pick it up about 30, 45 minutes away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So it was good wattage. Yeah. Yeah. And I started off as a DJ, and then I became the general manager and did that for, I think I did that for like 3 years in college. And it was awesome. Like, it was a little college right outside. It was in Connecticut, but it was about 50 minutes from New York City. And
So you couldn't quite reach New York?
couldn't quite.
It's right there.
Couldn't quite. But we did a lot of awesome stuff. I love music. Love going to
What
see.
kind of music were you playing?
Everything. Like, it was a lot of, we didn't play all the top 40. We didn't play top 40 or anything like that. It was all sort of up and coming music. So a lot of times how it worked was college radio. I don't know if it's still that way today, but back then it was
Right.
College radio is where a lot of, like, that's how U2, for example, got their start. It was college radio.
Absolutely.
So a lot of the music or the record labels would send their music to college radio stations, and then we would pick songs. We had a music director, pick stuff that was cool, play it. We would, and there was it was CMJ, College Music Journal, and it had a magazine, and magazines aren't really around anymore, but and there would be a huge industry week. It was like a long weekend music industry thing in New York City. So I went twice. One was right after 9/11, and it was like a month after 9/11, and then the other one was the next year, and it was really cool. We would go to all these clubs and see bands and get in for free everywhere. And, you know, they want you to play their music. They would promote a lot of stuff. So, like, Black Eyed Peas was before they got.
Yeah.
I saw them in a little tiny club, not bigger than the studio.
Hell yeah.
Met them and stuff. And it was before Fergie, all that kind of stuff. So it was
Hell
right
yeah.
before that. So, I mean, that's just one example of, like, music that we promote. And then there was a bunch of, like, specialty shows on our radio station. Like, there was an 80s one, there was hip hop, there was metal, like anything you think of.
Did you have to be like a radio personality, or you just have to be
No.
like, all right, and next up we've got
No.
Fergie coming in. This is the new hot topic for her. Hey, let's spin it right on
yeah,
out. Come on. Bless me on down. Stick with us on Q98.47.
You could get your radio voice.
Yeah. Did you have to? Yeah. Did you have to like be a radio personality?
Not really.
Sorry, this shit interested me. So.
Yeah. No, you didn't. Not really. Like, you had to try. You kind of had to try out for the radio station at the college, and once you were in, you were good. And sometimes you would, you had to kind of shadow somebody for a while until you got your own show. And so. I had my own show, and then I had a specialty show, and then I was the general manager, and then I'd fill in for people too in between. Like, I don't know how I had all the energy back in my 20s to stay up all night and
Cocaine.
no.
Duh. No, I feel you with that. I had it was me and another guy I went to high school with. It was on Oldies 1170 AM.
Ooh.
Yeah, AM, and we had the J-Man and Matt show. And
Okay.
it was fun, man. I was super young.
Yeah.
So I feel you with
It
that.
was
It was more. It was a very local station, kind of
Yeah.
like what you're talking about, but it wasn't a college station.
Yeah.
But he actually does all the sports announcement for the Clinton High School football team.
Okay.
And so he's kind of. I mean, he's pretty much progressed on, but that whole radio station was fun. It was an interesting little thing.
It was.
I've been in this world for a little while.
I know, I love it. I used to get fan mail from the women's jail. Not to brag or anything.
Oh
You
my
go,
God.
girl.
I haven't reached that level yet. I need
Soon
to
to
work
come,
harder.
my brother.
Fan
Soon
mail
to
from
come.
jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on its way.
It's soon to come, my brother.
Oh,
wow.
yeah. It was fun.
Jail mail.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you get it via letters? They wrote you letters? Like,
Yeah.
Laura.
They would write us letters. Then it was really, it was from the women's jail, and they would listen to our women's show. It was called Pleasure Kittens.
What?
But it was all women in music. Yeah, it was.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah. It was pleasure kittens, and it was all women musicians, support women music and everything like that. So I forgot all about this.
Yeah. Of all things that need to be edited out of the show, it just needs to be Laura Leigh saying "pleasure kittens."
Pleasure kittens.
that can be.
It's called. This episode, Pleasure Kittens.
Pleasure
kittens.
That's totally getting posted. That's gonna be the title. Blair, what do you got here?
I don't have anything like that.
You don't have pleasure kittens?
That's gonna be your new pass on from here on out.
Okay.
Since I see
Oh,
you.
God.
Yeah, I get to see her now. So yeah. I'm gonna remind Blair too when I see her from time to time. Be like, "Hey, you remember that time, Laura?" Oh wow. I gave the example over the break just to make sure that I wasn't crazy, and I'm not scared to give the same example again. But if Steve came in and was my rookie fireman at my station, rookie firemen, when they get into the fire service and they come on shift, it's bottom of the barrel, right? It doesn't get any lower, right? You're scrubbing grout on the floor, you're washing dishes, you're scrubbing toilets, all that kind of stuff. Whereas, and it could be just me, just like I gave in the example on the break, I would feel awkward treating a woman coming in that exact same position the same way. I would automatically, subconsciously change the way that I thought about that. Mm-hmm. And it's just like I told y'all, I said, am I crazy for thinking this way? Or is it society and culture making me feel this way? Or is it just my upbringing? You brought that to point, whereas, women are treated with respect and differently. So what is that? Because, whereas I can figure it out in my brain, there's a lot of folks in our service who are dealing with this issue. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's, women are coming more into our industry. Good on them. That's wonderful. I think it's great. But how do you take somebody who has grown up in this industry, as just swap places with you, Blair? How do you take somebody who was a man growing up in a legacy of men who were in the fire service, and then they're presented with this woman in our 2021 culture to where they're supposed to treat a woman the same way that they would a man? What is this balance? And like I said in the break, am I crazy for thinking this is a thing, or is it just me? Or I feel like if I'm thinking it, somebody else is too. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Am I subconsciously biased, saying, your women asking you or expecting you to wash the dishes as a low woman on the totem pole or the low man on the totem pole? Is that crossing the lines? And what type of woman would make that a big deal? Mm-hmm. Versus one that's there for the right reasons probably wouldn't make it a big deal. You know that's part of the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you know the difference?
Here's my take.
I'll throw
this.
the knife on the table and y'all can fight to the death over who gets to go first again.
Right.
I don't want to be singled out as a girl or a woman. That's when people they're like, do I call you a fire lady? Do I call you like firefighter? I'm like, I'm a firefighter. That's just me. But there are some women in the fire service who dangle this gender card, like, oh, I can't do this because I'm a girl. Or, oh, well, they want me to wash the dishes. Like, they expect the women to clean up after the men. Like, that's what a wife's supposed to do. I'm not your, my biggest thing is I want to be treated like one of the guys. I know my place as a firefighter. I know when I first got in, like, I knew I was supposed to catch all the grief and do all the things that other people didn't want to do. That's the firefighter rookie role. Like, you wash the dishes, take care of the kitchen. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't want anyone to look at me, and I think you feel the same way as single me out.
But I
as a
feel
girl.
like you have a little bit of a leg up on the thing because you are a legacy coming into it. So you already had that indoctrination as coming in. You saw that.
I never got treated as a girl, though.
Okay.
Growing up in the fire service, like, even when I started volunteering, they treated me as one of them. I never got singled out because I was a girl.
Right. Well, what my fear is your situation specifically would be a little bit different than somebody like Laura's or somebody like a different female or another female who doesn't have the legacy behind them. I'm not using your legacy by any means as a crutch, but what I'm saying is you kind of understood that coming in.
I think that's when you got to have trust.
Okay. You got my attention.
So if that's part of your crew, you got to communicate. Like, you got to know where your boundaries are, what you can and can't do. And I feel that needs to be immediately discussed when you get there. You got to, like Laura said, read the room, read your crew, figure out what you can and can't do, what you can and can't say. But also, you got to know the job.
Do we, as a fire department, need to be better about putting forth like a baseline of expectations to people we train, female or male, whatever? But hey, like in the onboarding process, you know, you're going to be the rookie coming into a firehouse. You're going to be expected to behave a certain way or listen or whatever. Is there a lack of that training in the onboarding process?
I think that I think it depends on your department, but I think what could benefit any new person coming in, male, female, but since we're talking about females, is finding a mentor for them and having that guidance. I think would help a lot. I think that your question is super valid. I mean, there's a lot of confusion out there. As far as and I agree with Blair on what she said. My own experience was coming in at WFD as a rookie. It was respectful. Like they didn't want, like, they felt weird. Certain people felt weird about me holding the door open for them, but it was like, please view me as your rookie. Like, just view me. And it was a nice gesture. I appreciate where they were coming from. But, you know, they were either my captain or my driver, and I wanted to just be viewed as a rookie. And I wanted to open the door for them or whatever it was, clean the kitchen, do the dishes and stuff like that. Like, I knew, like, I wanted that. I wanted that experience. And I kind of had to, like you said, communicate. Blair said, you got to communicate with your crew and find that trust. She's exactly right. Like, I had to just speak up for myself in that situation and be like, I really appreciate you guys, like, being respectful and everything like that, but please don't. like just let me hold the door open for you. You know, you're my captain. Let me do these things for you because I want to, and you deserve that respect. Like, I think that's just talk. And I think it's all how you say it and approach it. Don't you think so? Yeah. Like, I mean, you're going to meet people. I think it's in any job, really, but there are men in the fire service that don't like women and don't like having females around, don't like female firefighters, and it's there. I mean, we got to talk about it. It does happen, but I think it's a very small percentage. Overall, my experience has been positive. Overall, you know, there's been some leadership that hasn't been so great, but at the same time, I was like, is it because I'm a female, or is it because they're just
an asshole?
Yeah, and you gotta kind of have to navigate through that. But some of them, there are some men that don't want women around,
I think if you were to dive deep into that, it would be a lot of underlying self issues going on there. It's not necessarily the fact that there's females in the fire service. It's that there's a lot of self insecurities there happening. That's just a simple, easy outlet. You know, she's a girl. She can't do what I do. Well, maybe she can, bruh.
Yeah. Your mentor idea. We started down a path in our department about doing when somebody came on, assigning them a mentor. And I remember my fear was, I thought of immediately like 5 names. Like, oh my God, if they do this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, that's no good.
We're screwed.
You know? Yeah. So hearing you think about it, it made me like reevaluate that real fast. I wonder if we had Deputy Chief in here right now, if we proposed an idea of, instead of just this person and this person and this person are mentors, have maybe a bank of mentors, and then let the person coming in pick from that list, and at least reduce the chance of it being a negative environment or a negative situation. Because there's personality conflicts in any, like me and Hoffman could hate each other.
Yeah.
You know, and that would have nothing to do with us both being dudes. It's just people don't get along sometimes. So it doesn't have to be male, female all the time.
Yeah. I think along with that, like, just there are, I think, maybe this is getting off, but still on the female firefighter topic, but I think I've been in a situation where some of the guys were trying to instigate pitting myself and another female firefighter against each other, and we weren't falling for it. Like, they're like, why aren't you mad that she got this and you didn't? Like, putting that out there. And I was like, and her and I were like, no, we're not like we're not like that. Because I think there too, there's that sometimes there's that stereotype, maybe that's more what it is, where pin another female against each other in the same
I'll
service
say
and
that
be
happens
competitive.
on our side too.
Does it?
for
Okay,
sure.
I was curious. Yeah.
sure.
I just, it's interesting to see another perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I went for the captain process, it was a year-long process. As far as the list lasts for a year. I got promoted at week 50. So I went through 50 weeks of hearing those things like, oh, you know, this guy got it and you didn't.
Yeah.
You know, don't you hate that person for it, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's, that one is universal.
Okay.
I'm sure it's uniquely frustrating, but just know that that's universal.
And maybe it's because there's less women in the service that it just feels like.
Do you know who Simon Sinek is?
What's that?
Simon Sinek, do you know who that is? He's this guy that's he does TED Talks, and he goes around and talks to corporations.
So
and,
3 books.
Yeah.
3 books.
So he has this example that applies in this situation. I'm gonna present it to you.
Okay.
So on a standard graph, and you're in this conversation, you're trying to find good people for your organization. So good people for the fire department. And the bottom line is trust.
Yeah.
So you're either 0 trust or full trust. And then the vertical line is low performance or high performance. And so he naturally points out that everybody surely wants the high performing, high trust individual, right? So if you have a high performing, low trust, I don't want somebody that I can't trust, even if you're good at your job. If I can't trust you, I can't use you, right?
Yeah.
And so the opposite side of that, if I have a low performing somebody that I can trust, at least I know where they're at.
Yeah.
And everybody's not going to be able to deadlift 600 pounds like this guy or perform. But if I can trust you, we can work.
Yeah.
We can get things done. So having said that, I know the numbers game makes it seem heightened. You know, like if one girl does something to draw attention, it's like, oh, that was half of us, you know?
Yeah.
So how do you think we can help the girls to build that trust so that so they don't have to worry about 1 of 4 causing a problem, or 1 of 10, however big your department is?
Man, I wish I had a great answer for you, but I don't honestly know. I really don't know, because it's such a it's such a thin line that us as men walk when it comes to women in the fire service. I mean, I'm just going to give you an example, and a real example. You know, I can walk out of my bunk room butt naked, you know, on a shift full of dudes.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Nobody cares, okay?
Yeah.
But you put a female
Yeah.
on shift in the station with me, and all of a sudden, that entire rhetoric changes.
Yeah.
You know? Me personally, I don't care. I walk around naked in front of either one of you. I don't care. You know? But that's y'all.
Yeah.
You know? It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But, you know, some women I don't know. And so, even for that, I'm not even going to say as specific as some women. Some dudes, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not I don't know how to, I honestly don't know how to answer that. I don't know what, I think it's done from day one. I'm the same Matt Hoffman around you two that I am with anybody. Yeah. It doesn't change because y'all are around. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm scared to death when there's somebody that I don't know. And it's the same thing with a man. It's the same way when there's a new person walk in. Yeah. It's the same pay, and it's even worse when a female walks in. But I just don't know because society is shifting us so much different, and I blame it on society because it's easy, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy to blame it on the world outside around us because, I mean, it is what it is. You know, women do women things, men do men things, or I guess what we could call men things. We're being encouraged to be more like women now, but the worlds just can't coexist, you know? So, I don't know. It's just, it's a confusing time.
Yeah. I think some of it goes back to what Steve was saying about trust. Like, that's a big thing. I think, I mean, I can't, like, I know for me, again, it goes back to trust and reading the room and feeling comfortable around people where, you know, at the station, for example, like there's crews I've been around where I don't say anything. I'm kind of quiet, just taking it all in. Don't really want to say things. I don't know them because my sense of humor, I have a dark sense of humor. I'll say some disgusting things.
That's why I love you.
But I'm not. But there's certain guys I don't want to say that in front of because I'm like, I don't trust them. I don't know them, and I feel that same way around other female firefighters too. Like, there's certain ones that I trust. I have a lot of trust in, and I can tell them anything. I know they won't judge me. And there's certain females in this fire service that I would not trust. A lot of gossip.
What do you mean?
As far as like just talking to them about going to them for a female perspective on something or maybe something that I need. I feel like, you know, they gossip, they talk about other people, and I don't trust them. I'm not gonna tell them anything. I'm not gonna, I'm be more superficial with those people, I guess, and like a working relationship where, like, I feel like other people, I'm like this, like family, feel comfortable. I also think though it's interesting. Like, there's definitely, I don't know if you guys feel this way with working with us, but going back to that kind of female, whatever it is we bring into the station, into our little our house there, I think that there's something can be said about us being in there, like softens it up a little bit sometimes with certain crews and brings a different element into that, a different perspective.
Sure.
I've gotten the guys over at when I was at Station 8, I got tight with them, and that was really hard saying goodbye to them because they were like my family over there. And, a lot of them, some of them, not to call them out, but, they might seek my advice because it's a woman's point of view if they're having something happen at the house with their wife or girlfriend or whatever. And, or even just like sometimes they get, no offense to all men, but your egos can get in the way of decision making, And
It's a big part.
Ego is a good thing and a bad thing, but sometimes the egos can be just really toxic in the fire service. And I don't know, Blair, if you feel this way, but just I think sometimes we come in and we're like have that. Maybe it goes back to that sensitivity, emotional thing, which isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing that we have that. I've learned to embrace it. So I think we do bring something to the table as far as like, because it's not just firefighting and EMS calls, as we all know. It's like we have a lot of time where we're together as a family, and so I think that a woman in the house can bring a special element to that. It's okay to like, want to look a little cute or, get our nails done and still like go get disgusting and dirty and fight a fire or whatever, like, or be on a medical call and wiping up shit or something like.
I completely, that resonates with me greatly. There's been several times where, if I'm seeking advice about, me and my wife Holly, we'll be having some kind of issue, I don't care what Steve has to say, I don't care what Jeremy has to say. It would be awesome to have, Blair's perspective on it. Be like, hey, let me bounce this off of you real quick. Tell me what Holly's brain is saying.
Yeah.
Right, and I've said this time and time again, the dynamic of the firehouse and the kitchen table and everything that goes on, the public and what everybody perceives is 1% of our world.
Yeah.
The 99% is the stuff that they never see. Yeah. And it's our personal lives, our lives at the firehouse together, the time that we spend together. That's really the big picture.
Yeah, it is.
And if we're not doing all we can to benefit each other in that aspect, how can we ever imagine being able to work together in a time of tragedy? When it's somebody else's tragedy, how can we ever expect to work together if our shit's not together?
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you feel this way, Blair, but I kind of feel like we're in like a secret club and we get to hear, like, especially the men that are comfortable around us, we like get to really see how guys are sometimes. I feel like we're let in on this like little secret society. I actually admire, and like I said before I had some other females in the service with me that I felt really close with, I felt super envious of what y'all had. But it's fun to watch you guys and kind of sit back and watch the dynamics happen and see the shenanigans that go on with the guys. And I love it. I think it's great. But then also I feel like you, Blair, and I, and some other of my fellow female firefighters that I work with have that special secret connection. I mean, when I was at Station 8 with Cameron, we were bunked together. That was my first time besides just work. You were at the accounting, I was at WFD. We would train together a little bit here and there, but we never lived in the same house together. So when Cameron was with me, it was awesome. We had such a good time, and sometimes we would like go into our dorm room and close the door and just like
girl time.
Yeah, girl time, and be like, oh my God, these boys are driving us crazy, and so we just.
It's
it
like
was
pleasure
fun.
Kittens all over again.
Oh God. You had to bring it up.
Of course.
But I think that there's probably more positive. I understand, like going back to your original question, like there is the frustration, there's some navigation. I think it's just gonna have to be trust and building that relationship with somebody at the end of the day. And usually, and you probably see it with the guys that come into the service that are the invader. What did you call them?
Intruders.
That eventually they get weeded out. They go away eventually.
My fear is that it's going to be at the detriment of somebody that I really care about.
Yeah,
that's my issue. And as a female, it's the same thing with young men coming into the fire service and whatever it may be. I'm gonna fall back on Steve's. The understanding and knowing of your motives changes everything. Like if you come in as a female and you're coming into a male dominated industry, You know, the explanation of your motives, like, hey, you know, this pisses me off if you say this. If you talk, you know, completely derogatory and ill, that pisses me off. You know, you can pull people aside and say that kind of thing, and it you know, it doesn't damage their ego. It doesn't do anything. And the same time, you know, same thing for young men. You know, I don't like it when you talk about jokes about my mama. You know, that's fine. Just pull somebody aside, say, hey, I don't like mama jokes, or I don't like this, or I don't like that. That's fine. Nobody's ever going to be like, well, I'm going to just keep doing it more. You know, it's different when it's you know, when it's in a kitchen table setting and we can see that it upsets you. That's far different than you pulling us aside and say, hey, you know, this really bothers me. Okay? It's a completely different thing. Hit me.
I feel as a company officer that it's important to establish respect and boundaries in the very beginning with anybody that comes in.
Yeah.
You have that sit down, that first initial briefing where you start laying down expectations, company roles, kind of what you expect of people. Do you feel that having those conversations as a company officer with a new female firefighter coming in, I mean, I would think that would establish that level of respect, getting expectations out of the way, saying, hey, this is kind of how things are done. We expect, you know, work to get done, but you might hear stuff like this. Is this a problem for you? Do you think that's kind of important to be able to start off in the beginning? Or do you think that might be like a, hey, are you just singling me out because I'm a woman? Or
If you did that to me, I would appreciate it.
To echo off of that, I would think that somebody who came into the industry for the right reasons would, just like you said, would appreciate that versus say, you know, are you singling me out because I'm a female? That to me would be a red flag.
Because we've had, you know, women come in the past, and I've had that before, you know, when I was still young had the company, I would be like, all right, watch your mouth, boys. Here she comes. Don't say nothing.
Yeah.
Don't do nothing. And then,
that happens now.
And then as soon as they're inroads in the mix, everybody's kind of like, it's uncomfortable silence. I'm like, they have to know it's uncomfortable.
That
we're
happens
not
now.
doing anything.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you that too. I was like,
that.
are there situations that you can just feed? I mean, we know when it happens when we got certain people. It's not even just women.
Yeah.
There's certain people that you get rumors run around like, oh, don't run your mouth around them. So they come to the kitchen table, and all of a sudden everybody's quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit pound the station you're at, and you say Omaha.
Omaha.
Yeah. Everybody knows what that means. I mean,
usually reserved for the general public. That's calling an audible stop.
Yeah. Stop what you're talking about immediately.
But it's definitely noticeable, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Has to be.
Like I recently, and what you just said about having that conversation, and I agree with Blair. Like I respect that. Like I feel like, again, it goes back to the communication and leadership and of the captain and them, you know, talking to you about expectations and just being like, hey, does this bother you? You're like, no. Or you know, I like that honesty and being upfront. I know where I stand with someone like that. And that recently was communicate with me. It was awesome. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I got it. Like this is going to be good. Know where we stand. Know what's expected of me. And my captain knows how I feel. And so it was an easy transition. What I can't stand is walking into a room and it being silent all of a sudden, the laughing stops. And I've experienced that, and I don't like that. And so sometimes I actually have to just like, I'll say something. Like I used to not say anything, but you know, I started to speak up. Like, oh, it's because it's a girl in here. You have to, you know.
That's good.
Yeah,
Good for
I
you.
try to make
Yeah,
a joke.
good for
I
you.
try to make a joke of it to lighten the mood, but it's still it doesn't really. That particular crowd, it didn't really. They still would censor themselves, and I was like, why? Like I couldn't figure out why they kept. So I'm like, I'm not like that. I don't understand. So it really bothered me. Like I would just like, again, it goes back to, I just want to be seen as the firefighter or the rookie or, you know.
Exactly. I totally.
Yeah.
It's not up to you as a woman to come in and lay out those expectations. I think a lot of it lays onto the company officer and the senior men to reach out and to establish those boundaries and to communicate that with the rest of the crew once you establish them. But, I mean, Hopefully, it won't make it too uncomfortable.
Well, it's going to be the same with you ladies when you promote on up through the ranks. I mean, you're going to be riding the seat one day, just like Steve is now, just like Jeremy is now. I mean, you're going to be in my shoes one day. You know, Blair, you're already there. I mean, we're the same rank. I mean, I'm nothing special over you. I mean, and Laura, one day you'll get there. I mean, you're going to have to lay the expectations out for your new back steps. I mean, you're going to have to be the same way. You know, when this particular situation comes out, this is what I'm expecting of you. This is what I'm expecting of you. This is what I'm expecting of you. And as you crawl on up through this whole process, and hopefully both of you will be red hat shining one day. God, I hope so. I mean, you're gonna have to be these people in these shoes and be like, hey, you know, I'm sorry, but you know, dick jokes don't offend me, or whatever, you know, whatever it may be, or they do. You know, that offends me. You know, just be mindful. You know, just understand what you're saying, or whatever the situation may be. I think the explanation of motives breaks down all the miscommunication. And Steve preaches on this over and over and over again. Understanding somebody's motives can lay out the rest of your relationship so well that I don't even know how to put it into words. Yeah. But the understanding of somebody's motives is, I mean, it's paramount.
Do you think, I'm going to kind of put it back on you, and feel free to chime in with this, Blair, but do you think, too, as men in the fire service, when you have women like Blair and I, and you know that there are men who have in the service that have a sketchy history, let's just say that, inappropriate with women, do you think you guys in your positions and you can get that your duty should be to look out for us and protect us and speak up and say, hey, listen, steer clear of this dude. We'll be looking out for you. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Do you think it's like your job to, like, as part of the dynamics of the crew to protect us?
I have my answer, but I'm going to wait for you to get yours.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the dude that I want you to throw the knife in the middle of the floor with. Okay. Yeah. Let's do this. It's going to be me killing him or him getting to you, whichever one, you know, whatever comes out the best. But absolutely, I'm going to look out for. I'm going to look out for everybody's best interest, you know. And if I have shady inclinations or your past reflects your expectations or your perception on things, I'm male, female, it doesn't matter. I'm going to say, hey, you know, you make your own opinion of somebody. I can't force my opinion upon you. I'm just going to tell you, okay, they don't have a great history, or they don't have whatever it may be. In your particular question, what you asked me is they've been promiscuous in the past. Okay, so just maybe watch their advances and how close you allow them to get to you. Yeah. Not physically, but you know, maybe guard yourself a little bit around them. So yeah, that's about it. Okay. Explanation of motives.
Yeah.
Motives are a big thing. How can we earn your trust? Like there's people out here that you just naturally, like Captain Bob Zine is probably the most trustworthy guy I've met ever. Like you meet him for 2 seconds, you're like, oh, I can trust this guy. Yeah.
He can watch my kids for the next 26 days and we'll be good. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? I leave with my kids with him anytime. Yeah. My wife can walk naked around him and he'd be like, oh, there's a naked chick. Yeah. You know, it'd be fine. So, I mean, yeah. What a great question.
Yeah. Blair, you want to start with that one? I feel like I'm pretty good at reading people.
I would agree with that.
And I go with the motives. I feel like that's the first thing that I'm going to evaluate about somebody, is if I can, to see how pure you are.
Would it be safe to say that you think that I'm not going to say every, because it's a broad term, but would it be safe to say that everybody, that you essentially have a guard up or you're examining motives, however you want to put the circle around this, but I'm just going to use easy words for me, which means guard up. Would it be safe to say that you would put the guard up for anybody who is approaching you, whether intentions are good or bad? You put the same guard up until you understand motives completely. And then how as a man working with females, how do we gain your trust?
Yeah. I mean, to step back a little bit, agree with Blair on that. But also, sorry.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
How do we gain your trust without the misconception of every single dude that is talking to you or is trying to pick you up or have ulterior motives with you? How do we get past that?
I think that it goes back to just being genuine, I guess, and just again reading that person and where they're kind of they're kind of backing off now. Maybe I'm being like too much about wanting to help them train in this aspect or whatever. But also my own experience was I kind of jumped in very naive to a lot of stuff. And so I was really, really trusting with like everybody at first because I was like, oh, like I just want to learn. Like I just want to learn and soak up everything. And I think I was so eager to learn and like talk to men in the service just because that's who was there about this, that, and the other thing that there was maybe a couple of creepers that creeped in along the way, but I caught it enough early on that I was like, okay, I'm putting up the wall, the boundary, and avoiding them for now. I'm not going to seek advice or ask them what should I do about this for training or whatever it is.
I got one.
Okay,
yeah, words are hard. I mean, it's a difficult question. Sure.
It is.
Let me do my job.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me learn that way instead of you saying, hey, I'll do this for you, or hey, let me help you with this.
Yes.
Let me do this. I want to learn. That's how I learn anyway. Like, let me do it. Because then if you let me do it, then I can trust you that you will trust me on a legit scenario. I can trust you. You trust me, I can trust you.
It seems like trust is one of those funny things that it requires an understanding of trust from the other side before you can give it.
Mm-hmm. Was anything, if you are good at reading people or picking up on things, you can kind of see fairly quickly who doesn't have your best interest at hand. And I guess it's not an easy question to answer, and it keeps going back to that trust thing, and back to what you originally said, Jeremy, too, about like as a company officer, male or female, sitting that person down ahead of time when they first come on the crew, and just kind of laying it all out for them, and then letting the new member, whether it's a rookie or new firefighter, new driver, kind of just like say what they expect to and what they want to do, and have a conversation about that. But
would it be safe to say that to summarize, don't be creepy.
Don't be creepy.
And maybe respect is that stepping stone to trust. Mm-hmm. So you be respectful to me, I'll be respectful to you, and in that we'll develop trust for each other.
Yeah.
What do you say to women who would just ask you a question about how it goes from how you understand the intentions of helpful versus promiscuous? What do you say about women doing that to us men? Because it happens. You both have done that to me several times, and and I don't appreciate it, but
I love
but
it.
no, on the the real aspect. I mean, it's a real thing, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a real thing. Women who come into the job for, and they have they have, or they misinterpret. Is there anything we can do to better that? Because I mean, I've been told several times, and especially by my wife, that sometimes my kindness and my outgoing personality, some women misinterpret that as that I'm hitting on them, or that I'm that I'm wishing that I have different intentions than just me being me. That's just me.
Yeah, and you also were raised by all women, and so I
Right.
think you feel really comfortable around women.
You're people.
So, yeah.
I mean, but there's women on the other side of the coin. All right. So what advice can you give me as a man? Oh God.
Get your notebook ready.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me turn my computer back on.
Oh goodness.
So what are some things that I can look for as a man? A woman comes onto my shift. I'm treating her just like a dude, right? Not necessarily like a dude. I'm just saying that. I don't.
I'm sure
actually mean that, but I'm treating her as an equal, just as I would anybody else on my back step. I'm treating them. I have this expectation of you, and then she's like, well, I can meet that expectation, but then I have this expectation of you. What advice can you give me?
Gosh, that's a hard question, right? I feel like
Too many working parts, I guess.
Yeah. It's
Is that just on me to
it's-
decide?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
How do I
it's-
then
it's-
become the person who goes to HR and is like,
Yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
this is
I
getting a little
guess-
much.
I guess that's the thing. It's like with anything, you document it, and let your captain know. Document it. Let your captain know. That way, you're protected. I mean, that's it. And it works the same way with us. If God forbid that situation would come into play, you have to document, and you have to at
Well,
least.
I just think we would be shortchanging us if we talked about it just one-sided and not
Yeah,
the other side.
no,
So,
I agree.
There's
No,
more
no.
of y'all coming into our service now as there has
Yeah.
been, the other way around.
Yeah.
So,
If you pick up on that and she makes you uncomfortable, I definitely would not pull her aside one-on-one. I would
Yeah.
get your captain and her captain, let them know what's going on, and then either they handle it or you guys all sit down and talk about it.
all right, what if, I'm just throwing scenarios out here. What if it's the captain?
Oh.
Do you get your battalion chief
Yeah.
involved? You just keep climbing that ladder and be like, hey,
I would.
this is an uncomfortable situation I'm having with, this person. I need you to come be a part of this conversation.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, go to your BC.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I feel like this conversation is how Station 19, the TV show, got started.
It might be. So, I think it's legit.
Yeah.
You women are savages.
Yeah, I think that it goes back to motivation and intention and all that stuff. I found love with another firefighter. We were in different departments at the time. Now we're in the same department, but that was all genuine and respectful, and nothing. It was all outside of the fire service, and it was. I think we kind of knew each other for like a year before I think he even asked me out, and even then I was like hesitant because he was a firefighter, and so I think like everything is situational, different. Like his intention and my intention were genuine and good, and wasn't and everything like appropriate. So I feel like there's different lines to cross, and it keeps going back to that trust, motivation, intention.
Yeah,
all that
it's
kind of stuff,
all
like
just
all
like
that
Chief
stuff.
Flowers talks about. It's
Yeah.
it's all communication.
Yeah.
It's
So
all communication.
and so people could. There could have been. I don't know. There could have been things said about me because I was with I was a firefighter, and dating another firefighter. So, I don't really care if people talked about me, because I knew in my heart that it was true and it wasn't anything scandalous or behind anybody's back. Again, all appropriate, what was happening. So, everything is, so as far as that, like, and then, you just have to be smart. Even then, I was nervous, and you and him were on the same shift together, so you knew what was happening, but I didn't really tell. I told one other person, and I was just starting to hang out with you.
I didn't know for a long time,
and I didn't tell you.
She pointed at me, and then she pointed at Blair, just for the folks just listening.
Yeah. And I didn't tell Blair for a long time. So because I was nervous about being judged in that aspect of relationships within the fire service, because there's lots of relationships with other first responders. I think because there's firefighters that are married or dating, paramedics and LEO and other firefighters dating other firefighters within this industry. But I almost think it's because we can relate to each other and understand each other and get it. And so there is a lot of great things that can come out of that too. So it's not just all negative, hitting on things. Sure. So there are positive things that come out of that.
Sure.
So
yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Don't be creepy and show some respect.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Hoffman.
Wow. Call me out.
Man, that was outstanding. I can't wait to cut and turn up the volume on that one.
I want to talk about mental health a little bit too.
Okay.
I know that, it's all, Blair, I don't know if you want to get on that. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that.
No, you can talk about whatever.
Yeah. I know that I think we're all seem to be passionate about the mental wellness, mental health aspect of the fire service. I'm very, I guess, new to it in a lot of, as far as the fire service side and getting involved, and moving over to the county has opened some doors for me to help with that. And so I'm super excited about that. It was brought up, and I wish I would have thought of this, being married to someone that was in the military, but also getting mental health wellness for spouses as well, because they have a lot to deal with as well, dealing with us, and we're going home to them and kind of either not talking to them or dumping stuff on them or whatever, are coping with them at home, and it affects them. And I say that because I was a spouse of someone in the military, and I wish that I would have had some help as a spouse dealing with someone that was having mental health issues, Yeah,
that's a valid concern. I really haven't even thought that far.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been more hyper-focused on just the people in our industries, but there's no reason why the same system that we set up to help us can't just be extended out a little further. It's not a for-profit situation. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to help. So, yeah, spouses, you're right. You can go home and mishandle it 9 times out of 10. You either say too much, or you don't say anything, or you cope in whatever way that you figured out that works or you think works.
Mm-hmm.
The approach that the peer system is taking, whereas other firemen talking to other firemen, is to me the best approach, because I can relate to that. If I have an issue, I can relate to Steve, I can relate to Laura, I can relate to Blair, I can relate to Jeremy better than I can relate to somebody else. And that could just be the old school of me and the hard ass in me, or whatever it may be. But I'm not by myself. I can promise you that. There's a whole generation of me's out there. So what advice do you have for folks like me?
I think that the whole, I think that the peer support is that role is we're the bridge. That's what we've been taught in peer support. We're the bridge. We're here to listen and be that bridge if you need it, to link you to you might not need it. You might just need to talk and vent. That's it. And that's okay. You don't need, like, that's fine.
How do I know if I need it or I don't?
I'm not I can't tell you that.
The book
I can't
answer
tell you.
is if it impacts your life, your day-to-day life.
How do I know that? How do I know if it's impacting my day-to-day? What about the entertaining the idea of mandatory post-incident stuff? Like right now we have things in place. You can help me with this on terminology because I'm not great with it. But, if you have some kind of a traumatic call or whatever it may be, we have things in place where you can do a debrief, right? But it's not mandatory. What if that becomes mandatory? You don't have to participate, but you have to sit there. It's mandatory. You have to sit there. If you don't sit there, there's some kind of repercussion for it. I'm not asking you to participate. Maybe it helps you. Maybe it doesn't. That's not my decision to make. But you're going to be there.
There's valid arguments both ways.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can I get what you're saying. Maybe you can spin your view on that as like, I'm going to go and I'm going to listen, but I'm going to actually I'm going to watch Steve. And if Steve seems a little like, I don't think he's okay, I'm going to just keep an eye on that. And then afterwards, you can listen, like you can just kind of be that outside. Like that's how I would do it. If I felt like, well, that call didn't affect me. I feel fine, but I'll sit through this and I'm going to like listen to my peers talk, and maybe down the road, maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe it's the next day, maybe it's a month from now, I'm going to remember that they were having trouble with that, and I can go and reach out to them just to make sure.
But if it's not mandatory and you don't feel like you need to go because it didn't affect you, how are you going to be that person?
That's a good question. I mean, do you go just to support your? That's up to you. Like, do you go?
Good humans would, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
would you just
but that's
go
not a thing.
to?
I mean,
your crew is going.
I think if you go through a traumatic experience,
Yeah.
if whatever the spectrum is would be deemed a traumatic experience, it is mandatory for your crew to go. Every one of you, whether you're affected by it or whether you're not. What's the worst that can happen? You get paid for 2 hours of your time.
Right.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah.
I struggle with the
Please,
word mandatory and mental health. Like that rubs me a little bit wrong.
Okay. I like the counter argument.
Are you trying to say that if it's not mandatory, you shouldn't, like, I'm not going to go?
If it didn't affect him, is what he said.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So
that just falls on you, though. But, like, I think it goes back to, like,
I wouldn't have the opportunity to be compassionate towards you if I wasn't present when you were having your moment. Your moment of expression, your moment of relief.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to comprehend the idea that there was something bothering you if I wasn't present during that time. It would just be hearsay or whatever I might hear throughout the department, or
That's how it used to be.
There's three of us, right? There's three of us on a company. Steve goes, you go, cool. I don't go. All right. Steve hears this out of you. Then Steve tells me his interpretation of what he thought happened to you. Now I have to take his interpretation and interpret it into how I can help you. Versus if it's mandatory, I hear it with my own ears. Like I said, what's the worst that could happen? It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
This is just one side of an argument here. I'm not pro or fond of any of it. It's just an idea. Idea that I'm throwing up because it's a thing.
When I changed my mind on mandatory mental health, Trevor and I don't think you were there, King. You might have been.
Was that the car?
We ended up going to Grace Baptist Church.
I was there, but I didn't come in because I wasn't in the call.
So it was mandatory. Chief Stoffel was like, get in the truck, we're going. So we all go in, and we're in this room. Law enforcement was running it, and they made it mandatory for everybody to show up. Dispatch is there, fire, law, EMS. And this guy was made to come, and he did not want to be there. And he stormed in the room and let every one of us have it. And the guy was gone mad, like irate. And he was so mad at his administration for making him come, and it shook the room. Like everybody was like, oh, thank God when he walked out.
Yeah.
And I was like, that probably shouldn't have been mandatory. His supervisor should have seen his position. I was like, this is mandatory, but you can go home.
Well, I understand that, but I don't really feel fond of somebody else fondling my nuts once a year, but I have to do it, right? I mean, I have to go get my physical, right? I have to go get a medical procedure done where I have to drop my pants in front of another human being that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
All right? So you suck it up and you do it. I mean,
I think it's
this
easy to
world
see.
is filled full of things that we don't want to have to do. It's the emphasis on what you feel is serious or not. All right?
Yeah. Here we are, two guys that get along, and we're on opposite sides of it.
That's
So
fine.
It's pretty easy
Maybe
to see.
we don't put the words mandatory on it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can find a way of saying mandatory a different way, using a different verbiage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be just hung up on the word. At the same time, I get what you guys are saying. Do you think if it's they're investing the leadership for the municipality or whatever is investing in you through health insurance and all kinds of other ways, training, I think that their intention is to invest in you with mental health as well, or mental wellness, whether you think you need it or not. But you're also, when you go, you're going to be learning for your peer as well. Like you might be okay, and that's fine. There's nothing, you don't have to have, anything wrong, but you can go and open your mind to it and learn and try to understand where maybe someone's coming from. So maybe you can be that person one day down the road where you see some guy, the guy in the crew that might be having trouble with something. And so I think if you can just get past that word mandatory, and kind of, again, maybe it's more of a selfless act, like to go and to just learn, just be open, try to be open to it. You don't have to agree with what they say, but at least, you're getting paid to be there,
The next part, so me and you disagree, right, on the mandatory thing. If we were in a paid situation, like we're running a department and me and you disagree on it, if rank came in and now I outrank you and it's like, nope, we're going to do it my way, I think that would be a failure, right? But if we can disagree, but we're like, you know what, we both do agree that what we're doing right now needs help, right? So instead of facing off, we shoulder to shoulder, and now we explore and look for, I think that's the missing piece.
Explanation of motives.
Yeah, let's just let's agree that, all right, let's try to work together and find and take away the pride or ego.
Yeah, the stigma of the whole thing that surrounds all this giant balloon that hangs over us all. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an answer.
Do you think that we're gonna play through this weird music? Do you think that the inter-crew dynamic and the relationship that the crews have within themselves play just as much of a part on the mental health of the crew itself as this whole, surrounding? I've said it time and time again, and I'll say it with you. It's everybody likes to focus on the bad call, but there's so much more when it comes to what I view as mental health, and mental stability. Mental hygiene is what I like to call it. You don't brush your teeth when you have a cavity, you brush your teeth to prevent cavities. So the inter-crew dynamics and keeping this mental health hygiene up, keeping everybody healthy, keeping everybody cool, calm, and collected, letting you know that, if we have an issue, if we have a shitty call, we can talk about it right here. We can talk about it. We can dissect this thing at the kitchen table, recliners, radio room, whatever it may be. Do you think that would play just as much as a role as this interjection into peer support, peer fitness, all this, this, I don't know what the words to say, this kind of interjection into all this focus from the outside into this? Maybe put a little bit more responsibility on us senior drivers, company officers and stuff like that to keep up the mental hygiene of our companies. thoughts on that?
Yeah. You want to go?
Hit me, Blair.
I don't know if I necessarily agree on the seniority aspect of that. I think it's everybody's responsibility to keep check on their people. Like if you were my driver, I wouldn't have a problem coming to you and be like, hey, you good? You want to talk? You need to talk? Same with my captain. I would feel equally as comfortable because it's important to me. Like we all got to be game ready.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I would hope that they would turn around and do the same thing to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
They sure should.
Yeah. I don't think rank really has.
I've been beat
Anything
up on
to-
the rank. Like this is the second
Yeah.
conversation where
Yeah.
I've been beat up on the rank.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know if it's
I understand you're trying to set the example. Definitely, I think, when you're in a leadership position like that, you should set the example for sure. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're all like looking out for each other.
Sure.
So it doesn't matter.
You know where I think your approach makes sense is culturally, like if it's shared and you teach the drivers that are coming up, like, hey, this is something you need to be doing, it makes perfect sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had a chief level officer come in and say, all right, you are in charge of checking on them because you're the senior guy, you're in charge of, then you might assign the wrong person to be it. I think that's where you're talking about one thing, but two completely different directions, and one's successful and one's not.
Sure.
I think that's what Matt's trying to say is that it's a shared responsibility. That's where we need to get out above. There's a time and place for chain of command.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to mental health and looking out for each other, it needs to be you recognize something, you see something, you need to say something.
Yeah.
That's how we prevent these suicides.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
Especially you got these new people, and the new people are committing suicide, but these older guys that don't show any signs because years and years build up on them. So therefore, Blair works for me. I start turning on a deep dark path and recognize something, see something, say something. You gotta approach that. You gotta be able to approach that person. You gotta have that mutual respect.
I guess my mentality of the seniority thing is not necessarily based on a command structure. It's just the fact that, I'm senior to the house. I'm senior to the crew. I play the senior, although authority doesn't matter. I'm not talking about authority.
Yeah.
I'm just playing to the tempo of the crowd that I'm around. I have more time with these people. If you're new coming into my crew or you're, just, new being around me setting the tone saying, Blair, you good? Lets you know that I'm paying attention to you and that it's okay for you to ask the same in return or to ask somebody else like that. That kind of thing is acceptable here because, for lack of better terminology, Hoffman says it's cool for it to be here, or Steve, or Blair, or Laura, or Jeremy. Whatever that role may be, that kind of terminology or that kind of thing that says, what's cool around the table and what's not cool around the table or whatever it may be, when it starts with somebody else, and I just put that responsibility heavily on the senior people because I view myself as a senior person within this organization. So I feel as if it's a heavy responsibility for me to pay attention to my people and say, you all right? And then for them to do the same, that opens up the line of communication that says, it's cool for us to talk about this.
Yeah.
So that's where I say that it has nothing to do with seniority as far as authority goes. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, hearing you put it that way, it seems perfect.
Yeah. I think that would be with anything, whether you're, working out and setting the example or eating right or going out and training or whatever. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Anything like I'm looking to you guys because you're the leaders.
That's right.
And
But
so-
you as a new
so-
person,
Yeah.
if we're never talking about that or we're
Yeah.
never viewing any of that stuff, we would never have any idea that you were struggling with anything.
Yeah.
If that's just not an open window that you get to, that you get to walk through or an open door that you get to say, that's a world that, does exist with these other folks that, you know, have been doing this job longer than I have.
Yeah.
And I think that would translate to, you know, when you further yourself on into your career, you get a hardened person or somebody who's been dealing with this for a long time that starts going down a deep dark path, and you'll be like, you know, I've heard these conversations, or, you know, fuck it. It's okay to ask somebody, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to be scared, you know, just ask them. What do I have to lose?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a touchy issue.
It is.
Bless the hearts of the people who are trying to figure it out. I wish I had a black and white answer for them, and they could hear it right here first on Primary Complete, but I don't. I think it's I think this setting, this right here, this conversation, the positives that can come out of it, I think that would be. I think that's the key to all of it. You have to have a conversation about it, whether it's good or bad. You know, me and Steve have different perspectives on everything. We talk long enough, we're going to have different perspectives on all kinds of things. Yeah. But I think this is where it has to start. It has to start with people talking.
Communicate.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd say there's a real strong chance I'm going to have to break this into 2 shows.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Laura, Blair, it's been a pleasure. I hope to have y'all back on soon. I've enjoyed a lot of your perspectives on things, males and females in fire service. It's a real thing. Go get them, girls. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks
It's
for coming.
been really fun.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it.
All right. Appreciate it.